You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionPit.com, Andrew the Rock Lobster, Joe Benazzi from OptionPit.com, and Henry the Flowmaster Schwartz from Cboe. The Option Block is brought to you by Cboe. Cboe's suite of S&P 500 index options, SPX and mini S&P 500 XSP options, allows traders to speculate on the direction of the market, generate income, and hedge for downside protection of their portfolio of stocks. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.cboe.com/SPX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Cboe Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively Cboe. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the Cboe products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again. It is Thursday. Time for everyone's favorite bi-weekly source for all things options related. Yes, it is time once again for the Option Block. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the network upon which all of you folks are binging. Hope you're having a good trading week. Another good one if you're in the Uncle Mike camp. His Facebook cabal has been busy since the Monday episode. We'll get to all that fun in a bit. If you want more fun in your life, including awesome options oddities, the official after party for Vol Views, we'll be joined by our good buddy, Mr. Matt Amberson from Orats on that one tomorrow. That's going to be a banger. He always comes armed with just a slew of wild activity to parse and put some trades on around. So it's always a good time when he joins us. You want to check it out, trust me. Theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the only place to get that, as well as, of course, to get your name in the hat before the end of the month so you too can win the fabulous June Pro Trading Crate. Theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more as we learn who's joining us on the old program today. First, we go out to the quiet hinterlands of Chicago, where we are joined once again by the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, welcome back to the Thursday show, sir.
Always a pleasure to be here. We are 14 points away from a new all-time high in the SPX, so I might be doing some show interruptions today if we hit it. It's just such an exciting thing. Very excited.
You got to be super giddy. Your Facebook cabal, this is the day you wait for. This is the day you've been preparing for in your bunkers for years. This is a hot day for you folks. So we might have an Uncle Mike outburst at any moment, listeners. Be prepared. He's going to burst in like Kool-Aid Man right through the wall and go, oh yeah, new all-time high, right? And then chug a bunch of Kool-Aid. Is that how it works, Uncle Mike?
Wacky, wild Kool-Aid style. See, why don't we have trivia questions about this on our Monday show instead of like all this lowbrow stuff that you've been doing lately? I think it's hurting the show. I think the ratings are down because of
Threw a little Hemingway at
question.
you. Didn't work out too well. Uncle Mike kind of digging himself a hole in that orange Trivial Pursuit battle that he persists in engaging on. But that's for the Monday show. We are now joined on Thursday with his usual allotted spot, none other than the Flowmaster himself, Mr. Henry Schwartz from Cboe. Mr. Flowmaster, welcome back to the show. And were you a big Kool-Aid fan as a kid, sir?
We used to make it with the little envelopes and, you had to add the sugar and stuff. I remember Kool-Aid. No, I'm happy to be here. It's the heat wave is kind of finally breaking in New York City. So yesterday was 101 or something. Today it's only 80. And by tomorrow, I think it's supposed to be back in the 70s. So busy markets. And yes, I also am watching these kind of flirting with new all-time highs. It's certainly an interesting time, but happy to be here and lots to talk about.
Time to see if the market is drinking the Kool-Aid, listeners. It is time for the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the trading block.
All right, everybody, let's commence operations here with the old trading block, the portion of the show where we tell you what the heck we're keeping an eye on. And as Uncle Mike alluded to on the Flowmaster and myself, we are within spitting distance of all-time highs in the S&P. Crazy to think we were 1,000 handles and more below this. We broke through 5,000 in the other direction not that long ago, a few months ago. So kind of wild times out here we've all been living through together. S&P up strong again today, up about 0.7%. Dow up about 0.8%. NASDAQ up about 0.8% as well. And our old pal VIX Cash continuing to get the gut punch down to about a 1635 as we're kicking off the show, down a little over 5, about 5.15 points to be precise from where we were on the Monday show. So vol kicking in, man, that really surprise peace announcement in the Middle East really just seemed to crush vol. No sooner had I overwritten some of my SVIX and they came in and announced peace in the Middle East. Good thing for the globe, not a great thing if you're capped on your short vol. Luckily, we had some other fun things to do. We'll talk about that on Oddity. Some folks in the probe already reached out. We've already discussed some fun things they've been up to there. But either way, it's been a vol apocalypse this week, listeners. VVIX also taking it on the chin this week, way back below the par level, down to an 89 as we're kicking off the show. Puts it down exactly 20 points. We were at a 109 on the Monday show. So a lot of vol living being done just since Monday. Again, wild times out there. We're all just poised on the edge of a knife, just waiting for Uncle Mike to burst through the wall with his pronouncement for the ages. I'm not quite there yet, but it might come at any moment. So if you're feeling a little high-strung during the show while you're tensed and waiting for it, I understand. We all are. In the meantime, though, Uncle Mike, if you can draw your eyes away from the S&P ticker that they are locked upon, what is catching your eye in the market today, sir?
Oh, well, I'm not going to draw my eyes away because I can still talk and watch my screen at the same time, and no one knows any better. So it's kind of a multi-talented luxury that I get being in the profession with which I'm in. Kind of cool, isn't it?
It is indeed fascinating, sir.
But anyway, so with the vol coming down like it has this week, what's going to be interesting for us from a portfolio manager standpoint is that we're in a new expiration cycle, or we got into a new monthly expiration cycle. I know you're technically in a new expiration cycle every day these days for the zero DTE crowd, but for those of us old timers that still sell monthly covered calls, one of the things with which we did on Monday when we got into our new expiration cycle is that it wasn't necessarily because of vol but it was more because of we had a little bit more of a bullish stance on Monday. We ended up going a little bit further out of the money than, or we took more of an out of the money stance for our covered calls going into this month. And that there's always a couple stocks that were have gotten beaten down to where we couldn't sell any covered calls on because they've been beaten down so bad. And we didn't want to sell a covered call on while we're down. There's also a stock that we're just selling call spreads on. So it's not exactly one covered call. It's not exact science, I guess, is what I'm trying to say with it. But for the most part, what we wanted to do is leave a little bit more room for upside. Now, the disadvantage of that is that we didn't take advantage of the 20 plus VIX premium that we had on Monday. However, the advantage is that we left room for the upside, and we did kind of take advantage of the 20 plus VIX premiums available because we were able to get some decent juice out of the money on certain stocks with which we sold up to. So now what's going to be interesting for next month, and there's still a whole lot of volatility and a whole lot of S&P to be moved in one way, shape, or form between now and the next expiration in roughly 3 weeks. But what's going to be interesting is that if we're in the teens again at this point, we're going to have to make a decision in that, do we want to sell premium closer to the money and get a higher dollar amount of premium, or do we just want to accept lower premium for the month of July, or I'm sorry, for August, once we start doing our August options, and still allow for the upside within our covered call program? Those are things with which you need to be nimble as a trader. You need to pay attention to things. And oftentimes, I think it's people try to make this a machine, make trading just a machine too frequently. And when you do that, you're missing out on opportunities like what I just described. You need to be fluid. You need to be paying attention to the markets. You need to have rules, of course. I'm not saying that. The rules are what's kept me in this business for 15 years, quite frankly. But you need to be fluid and have the ability to do things like that and watch for things like that when the opportunities arise. There's always an option strategy for something somewhere. It's just up to you to figure out what way you want to customize your risk. Now, within the markets themselves, we are roughly 12 points away from a new all-time high in the S&P. My hope is that I get to chime in like Kool-Aid Man, as Mark said, and on the show when we get to do that. We'll see if that happens today. We are still getting what's exciting to me, or the other thing that I think we need to continue to watch as we do this, is the bond market. And within here, if you were to just look at, just say like an IEF, for example, IEF over the course of the last 10 days, we're up, it's up over 2%. Now, is that like the crazy thing in the bond world to where it's actually having a 2% move? No, but it is something that needs to be taken a look at. Now, for context on there, if we just want to look at the actual yield on the 10-year note, it's gone from 4.46 down to 4.29 over that time frame. So we are getting some bond buyers, and we're getting stock buyers as well. And the reason I think that is a good, healthy thing for the marketplace is because at some point, if we get enough bond buyers, then what that's going to do is make people that already have money in the short-term treasuries want to get back into the stock market because the yields are going to be so low. So that is the bullish hope within me. We'll see how well and if that plays out, but I think that's something we also need to look at. Silver and gold continue to be at high levels, and that is what I am seeing today.
Uncle Mike, your ears must have been burning on Tuesday because you were invoked because I was talking about getting on the boat with the 10-year note, but not in the U.S., but across the pond in Europe, sir. So your strategery was invoked, but from a European flair, sir. What say you?
Well, I mean, you're going to need a bigger boat then to get across the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes, it's a big pond.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's interesting. So if you are intrigued, if you've liked Uncle Mike's siren song luring you into the boat of the 10-year note, but maybe you also were intrigued by looking at some other markets, seeing how you could replicate that type of fixed income exposure. Let's say in the Eurozone, well, then the European market brief is your huckleberry, a pretty wild one. We packed a lot into an hour on that show. It was pretty fun stuff. It was myself, Dr. Vic/V-Stocks, and a bunch of other special guests. Tune in and check it out if you missed it. Of course, if you're listening to the full network, if you're already subscribed to the full network, you already have it in your hot little hands. Mr. Flowmaster has all of the market's data in his hot little hands, and he's there behind the scenes like a puppet master, manipulating and laughing maniacally. Mr. Flowmaster, sir, what puppets are you making dance today?
Well, it really is very dramatic. I mean, we didn't tape last Thursday because it was Juneteenth, and in between then and now, we had some significant military action, and then as Mike said, the announcement of truces and peace, and I think that for a lot of people, it took a little while to believe, and I think based on the track record of this president, you never quite know what's around the corner, but we really are at an interesting time. I mean, geez, VIX is at 1630 right now. Markets near all-time highs. It just was like a dramatic kind of shifting of sentiment, and we could probably spend the entire show kind of talking about how we got here and what risks remain, because there's definitely still risks out there, but we really are back to kind of a very strong market, and volume. We're finishing up. We're finishing up the second quarter. Volume's been a little bit lower. We've had a couple good spots. Especially April was kind of the all-time highlight, but May was a little bit light. June was pretty healthy, but it's kind of all segments are seeing a lot of action, and I think it's we talk about kind of the sweet spot in terms of putting on positions and where a lot of different kinds of trades make sense, and 16 something in VIX might actually be kind of on the low end of things now, but it does kind of feels like maybe we're going into a summer where it's actually going to be quiet. I don't know. As soon as I say that, I'm sure we'll have some sort of a 50-point gap.
You're right. VIX of 16 seasonally feels appropriate, but then in this tweet by tweet market we're all living in, it feels wildly underpriced. Because literally anything could drop at any moment, Mr. Flowmaster. As we saw again this week, the market pricing in a decent amount of juice as a result of this Israeli conflict. Also a pretty aggressive pop in crude. And then, as we have said many times, the playbook for 99% of these Middle East conflicts is to fade them, and both crude and vol. And that's worked out pretty spectacularly so far this week. Again, barring some other tweet to the contrary at any moment, which we're all bracing for. We're also all bracing for Uncle Mike to explode through the wall like Kool-Aid Man. Just doing our check-in. Uncle Mike, how are we looking?
We are at 61.34 right now, so we're still 13 points out.
We need like klaxon horns. We need the sounds of the wall breaking. Give me your best, Kool-Aid Man. Oh, yeah, sir.
Oh, yeah. I'm too much of a Macho Man Randy Savage if I'm going to go, oh, yeah.
It's got a little Macho Man in it, too, but I got to admit, I wasn't hating it. Listeners. We'll see. We'll see if we get that moment here on the show. Knowing Uncle Mike's luck, especially as it's playing out in the trivia game right now, it will be exactly 1 minute after showtime, Uncle Mike, when we hit the all-time high. And I'll hear your howls of rage all the way from St. Charles here in the studio here. So we'll see, listeners. We'll keep an eye on it as the show progresses. We'll also keep an eye on the options market and the volume. Let's see who the Flowmaster is making dance out there today. And VIX looks like it's answering to the tune, listeners. VIX is looking a little spicy again after, I'm trying to think, it's been a while since we've seen VIX this time of the show north of 500,000 contracts. You got to go back a few months to the spicy days of late March, early April, where we were putting up 1 million plus contracts a day. These days, the ADV is 675, so 500,000 is a lot, but we are north of that, 516 right now, listeners, including the big dog out there today, 78,000 of the AUG 30s, followed by 77,000 of the AUG 25 calls. Looks like there is an AUG 25-30 vertical going up 25's going up for $1.50, and the 30's going up for $1. So obviously 50 cents. It's going up on ratios as well, but as you can see, the total volume is pretty much 1-to-1. Does seem like it probably is an unwind. There is OI on both, but you never know. Lately and in the past, really, these upside spreads have been mostly ratios. So this is a little tighter than what we normally see, though. Usually we'll see 1 by 2 selling, 1 buying 2. Let's say 25-40, not really 25-30, but there is OI on both strikes. So we'll have to see what they're up to there. Maybe you like that, listeners. You know what? 25-30 straight up 1-to-1. Would you buy that for $0.50? Seems like somebody is trading that today. At the very least, taking it off. Either way, that is a big reason why the VIX is already north of 500,000 contracts. $1.50 going up just in that spread alone. Number 3, 30,000 of the June's gone, listeners. 30,000 of the July 17 puts. I wonder if that is the Rock Lobster's Huckleberry put right now in VIX, because he's been talking about a lot of VIX puts. Either way, it's looking good if that's the case. Number 4, 29,000 of the July 19 puts. Definitely looking good there. And number 5, 18,000 of the July 23s. SPY also looking spicy. 5.2 million contracts on the tape. The ADV about 8.5, so definitely on track to hit that. The S, 2.1 million. The ADV, 3.54 million out there, listeners. So the S looking like it's on track to do its day's worth of business as well. You know what? Just for fun, let's check in with our old pal, the S listeners. It definitely feels like one of those days where we're hanging out pretty much all 0 day, all the time. And is that the case? The answer is yes. We are once again 20 for 20. All options in the top 20 in SPX expiring today, listeners. If you're wondering what the big dog is today, it's about 80,000 of the 6140s have traded today. So we are a little bit shy of that right now. We'll see if we blow through those bad boys. If we hit those and go beyond, then we are firmly in Uncle Mike territory. So we'll see if we get there later today. Either way, the S, 2.1 million contracts on the tape. Small caps, listeners, are they looking spicy? They're looking decent. Usually we expect them around 750,000 contracts this time of the show. Right now, they're a little bit light from that perspective. Only 535 on the tape, listeners. The ADV is 1.1 million, so they're right about on pace to hit that. We'll see if they can keep it up in the second half of the show. And, of course, our old pal, the Qs, kind of back to exactly where we used to expect them this time of the show. It used to be almost like clockwork. You got to this portion of the show, the Qs were at 2.25 million contracts. That was kind of our expected level. For a while there, things are getting hot and spicy, and the Qs were well past that. Looks like we're back to that level now. Exactly 2.25 million on the tape right now in the Qs. But let's go out to the question everyone's asking. Is it a spicy banger single name day? Are we seeing some actual single name volume? You know, lately when we've seen such macro-driven markets out there, listeners, it's kind of been stealing the thunder of the single names, and we've been seeing some light days out there. Is today going to buck that trend? The answer is yes. We are looking firm. We are looking not just respectable, but dare I say it, listeners, impressive. It's been a while since I could say that, but yes, we are looking actually impressive, listeners. Let's get the up to the minute, up to the second number to get all the contracts in there that we can, listeners. Yes, we're kicking it off at number 10, listeners. Cost you over 450,000. It's been a while since we've seen that level of juice to break into the top 10 list. And that gets us to our old pal Micron out there. So 250 is kind of shrugging our shoulders. We've been around that level for a while. 350 is where we kind of draw that line of respectability. 450, that's a banger. We don't break into past 450 really to break into the top 10 very often. So today is a fairly rarefied day. That gets us again to Micron. Number 10, 453 on the tape. Micron taking it on the chin right now, 124 and a third, off about $3 or almost 2.5%. Micron, not a stock we get a chance to talk about a lot. It is now off $18 for the year, or about 13%. It was 142 and a third a year ago, even though it is still up from its low on April 8th of 61.5. So, man, it has doubled from just its nadir on April 8th. My goodness. So, yeah, it's got some upside to give if it wants to give back $3 after doubling in the last couple of months. I don't think the Micron bulls will be too upset at that. Either way, Micron Coming in at number 10, haven't seen them in the top 10 in a little bit. Welcome back, Micron. Number 9, this is a frequent offender. It's Meta, $724.5, up nearly $16 or 2.25%, reaching a deal for some massive $10 billion, 2,000 plus acre, I believe, data center down there in Louisiana. Just wild stuff we're talking about here, listeners. The arms race that is AI continues. Either way, Meta today, $725 exactly, up 16 1/3 or about 2.3%. Good for number 9, $455 on the tape. Number 8, to the Amazonians we go, listeners. $216.11, up 412 or about 2% today for the Amazonians. And the number 8 spot, $465 on the tape. Number 7, it's Coinbase. They've been riding this whole circle madness quite a bit of late. $376 even, up $20.65 again, or another 5.68%. Do we even want to look year to date how much they're up? Up 118 handles or 46%, listeners. And if you go back to their nadir of April 8th, 151, they have more than doubled. They've gone from 151 to 375. So it's been a good little run here for Coinbase. Of course, they were 241 back on June 12th, just 2 weeks ago. So been a wild run. This circle thing on top of everything else now has just added yet another leg up to the Coinbase madness out here. Either way, coin what number are we? Number 7, 513. So number 7, we're already north of 500,000 contracts. That's when you know it's a spicy day. Today's kind of a stealthy, spicy day, which is always fun. Number 6, it's the Fruit Company, listeners. $597 on the tape. Fruit Company back up, just ticked. It was below 200. Now it's just ticked back up, 225. So we're just flirting with that 200 level right now, off about $1.30 right now. It's at a range today of 199.46 to the downside, 202.64 to the upside. So breaking par again. Remember we talked about it, those Dees par puts for $18. Looking like a decent sale right now if you sold them. A lot of you wanted to. Either way, I'll have to go look and see what they're trading for right now, listeners. Apple, number 6, $597 on the tape. Number 5, it's Palantir, 145 1/3, up $2.50 or 1.75%. Palantir, $2.50 is a literal rounding error for them. They could do that again at any moment. Either way, Palantir coming in at number 5, $614 on the tape. Number 4, to the land of AMD we go, listeners. $666, the number of the beast for AMD coming in at number 4. 143.93, up about $0.50 or about 1/3%. So a decent day here for good old AMD. Number 3, it's SMCI, 701 on the tape. 49, pretty much even, up about $2.50 or 5.25%. Good for the number 3 spot today, SMCI, listeners. So then we come down to the question we always ask when we get to the top of our list, listeners. Who is in the number 2 spot and who is in the number 1 spot? It is the eternal battle for the throne of the options market, the crown of options volume. Who will take the crown today? Remember, if you come for the king, you best not miss. And who is the king today? Is it not Tesla? No, Tesla is back to number 2, listeners. After kicking NVIDIA to the curb ever so briefly last week, back to its usual appointed number 2, 1.42 million out there for Tesla. And again, a decent margin between number 2 and number 1. NVIDIA outpacing it by pretty much 1 million contracts, 2.4 million contracts on the tape for NVIDIA right now. So NVIDIA cementing its claim on the throne, even though 2.4 million is still a fairly light day for NVIDIA, all things considered. If you're looking for a little bit of single name earnings action, there is still a little bit, even though, again, like we said, most of the season is behind us. Everyone's gearing up for the next run. We had FedEx after the bell on Tuesday, Micron yesterday after the bell, hence Micron breaking into the top 10. You know it's an earnings-driven event probably when Micron is making its way into the top 10. We had General Mills before the bell yesterday, and everyone was all fired up about McCormick Spices before the bell today. I mean, who isn't checking their ticker for McCormick Spices before the bell? If you're not doing that, I question whether you're really a trader. And then after the bell, of course, Nike today. But that's really kind of it for names you folks watch and pay attention to. Oh, I almost forgot our old pal, the Boots, Walgreens Boots Alliance popping off today. It's just one of my favorite names to say, even though it seems like that alliance maybe some cracks forming out there. But there's never cracks in the world of unusual activity. So let's get there now. It is time for the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Odd Block, the portion of the show where we get weird, we get wild, and more importantly, we unleash the Flowmaster to be weird and wild. Before we get there, check in. Uncle Mike, how's it going? Do you have the Kool-Aid canister in hand? Are you ready to break through the walls, sir?
I'm ready, but it doesn't look like it's happening. At least we're still about 10, 11 points away at this stage.
All right, well, you keep drinking that Kool. Don't have too much. Save some for the rest of us. We'll keep checking in with you periodically throughout the show, Uncle Mike. All right, to the land of the Flowmaster we go, listeners. What's kicking it off in Odd Block territory today? We're going out to Rocket Labs. Been here a few times of late. Ticker symbol RKLV. Trading 35.80 today, up $3.50 or a little over 10, about 10.6%. So a wild day here for Rocket Labs. They've had a range of 32.41 to the downside, 37.21 to the upside. So nearly a $5 range on the day here for Rocket Labs, which is a bit of a banger. Record surge, new all-time high. I'm trying to see. Oh, they have a contract. They got a new contract. That's what it is. Okay, it's not earnings. So interesting stuff out here for Rocket Labs listeners. We talked about them a few times on the year. They've had a good run. A year ago it was $4.76. So by my math, it's been a good run from $4.76 to $35.79. It's up about 31 handles. Oh, only about 650%, listeners. So not a bad do for the Rocket Lab folks. That said, they did flirt with similar levels back in January. They got up to about $31.50, and they kind of fell out of bed. So if you were loading up on Rocket Labs at the beginning of the year, by the nadir in April, you were wearing it. The stock had been cut in half, down to $16. So you were probably singing a very different tune back in April on Rocket Labs than you are right now. Of course, ever since then, it's pretty much done naught but go straight up. So it's been a rocket ship to the moon, dare I say it, in Rocket Labs post April 8th. That said, Mr. Flowmaster, sir, what did you spot out here in Rocket Labs today?
Yeah, so I have been keeping an eye on this one for the last couple of weeks. Yeah, it's up, almost 11% today, as you said, and it's had a heck of a run. The volume today is about double normal. We got about almost 200,000 contracts trading, and the average daily volume in this thing's only 111,000. And it is mostly calls. It's 130,000 calls versus only 50,000 puts. The leader is the July 35 calls, right? So, the stock's up, from 33 something to 36-ish today. So, we're through that strike. And when I went and looked at the individual trades, at first I thought it could be a buyer because there's a $3.50 print right after the open, which looked like a buyer. But the closer I look at it, I actually believe this is probably a seller. And you kind of have to go back. It's had such a strong week. There's kind of two-way flow. Going back as far as last week when the stock was only at 26, and back then we had a buyer of about 3,000 June 28 calls for 26 cents. So those are now $7 in the money if they're still open. So I actually, my read on this is that somebody's kind of playing this stock or kind of it's become, I don't know if I'd call it a meme stock or not. Vol's not quite that high. But basically people kind of riding this thing around, which means it could be kind of a fun trading name to keep an eye on. So, but my look on this is it's not kind of a new upside call buyer. I actually think that people that have ridden it for the last, $5 or $6 might be taking some profits or locking in those gains.
You can't fault him. It's been a heck of a move, especially post April 8th, Mr. Flowmaster out here in good old Rocket Labs. Let's dive into Sunrun next, listeners. Ticker symbol RUN. We talked about them in the past. As the name implies, they are a solar cell manufacturer out there. They also make some of the battery energy storage for the solar cells out there. So interesting stuff. Sunrun 771, up about 43 cents or 6% today. This is a sector that's been beset by issues, of course. Heavily subsidized sector. Some of those subsidies potentially going the way of the dodo out there. So a lot of back and forth, a lot of ebbs and flows in the solar space. And over the past year, it's been mostly to the downside, listeners. Off about $5, trading 771 in run right now. Off nearly 40% on the year. Actually, just ticked off exactly $5 on the year right now. A year ago, they were obviously $12.70, and then they got as high as about 22 and a quarter. That was in August of last year. It's another weird one where the rest of the market was getting annihilated last August, and this one had its all-time high, or at least 52-week high of 22 and a quarter. Then they started selling off pretty aggressively. By November, they were down to 971. So this one moving the opposite of most of the market. When the rest of the market was rallying, and it had a brief pop post on November 5th, actually, with the election. Then it fell out of bed. Like by November 19th, it was back down to 971, and it kind of kept gently drifting all the way down to about, looks like about 5 1/3 back on April 8th before kind of rallying back up May 15th up to nearly $13, $12.85. So a good little run for them, and then falling right out of bed again. I'm guessing in the wake of the Musk-Trump feud, where it seems like solar subsidies were on the chopping block potentially as well. They've been slowly clawing their way back up, got up to $10 again. I mean, they sold off down to about, looks like $6.88 in May, and then clawed their way back up to $10 on June 13th, and then fell right out of bed again. Maybe that was the Musk-Trump battle. Either way, there has been another leg down recently, back down to about $5.78. And they've been slowly clawing their way back up again to where we find them today, listeners, $7.72 for Sunrun. Mr. Flowmaster, what caught your eye out here in Sunrun today?
Yeah, so this is, as you said, this is it's a solar name, right? So, it definitely suffered kind of when it became clear that the new president cared a lot more about oil than about facilitating solar. Also, Mike, feel free to scream once we get there, because I'm looking at, we're ticking up. We're getting
closer.
we are getting closer. Maybe it's just gonna tease us for a while. It reminds me of when the Dow crossed 15,000 and they had like TV vans down at the NYSE. So a long time ago, but sorry, Dow 5,000, not 15,000. So the trade I'm looking at in run actually is today, and it's a buyer of 10,000 of the July 11th 9-strike call. 10,000 trade 80 cents. Market was 79.80. I am trying to triple check that it was a buyer, just because every once in a while when they're close like that, it's the other way around. But in this case, it does look like a buyer. Stock was at 788. Stock kind of hasn't done too much from there, but it already is up 6% today. And it's a pretty big trade for a name like this. It averages only averages around 70,000 calls a day. So for somebody to take a bite of 10,000, there's also some buyers in the July 8.5 calls for $1.09. That one is opening, and that one's a pretty clear buyer because it's a multi-market sweep. I don't really know if there's a catalyst that they'd be playing. As kind of tensions in the Middle East. After they quickly shot higher, we're now, oil's back to pretty cheap, which usually isn't a good thing for the solar space. But I don't know, vol's also up pretty sharp, like 20 points or so in the near term. So let me just see what the skew's doing in there as well. The call skew is definitely kinked up about 30 points today compared to the put skew is only kinked up about 20 points. So there's somebody kind of leaning, pretty hard into this name from the bullish side. I'm not sure what the catalyst is, but it's an odd one for sure.
An odd one indeed. Have you folks gotten into any of the solar fun out here, listeners? It's been a volatile sector, to put it mildly, out there. So let us know if you're. I'm looking at the chat here. We got a lot of the usual suspects. Got some HIMs. We got some VXX. We've got some VIX upside flies. Okay, that's interesting. And more Portillo fun to the downside. So a lot of different names popping into our chat out there today. Let's keep it rolling. Let's go out to a name we haven't talked about in a little bit. Usually we talk about it at the beginning of earnings season when all the financials are popping off. This is Citi, listeners. Ticker symbol, of course, C. 84.58, up about $2 today, or 2 1/3%. A decent year for them as well, up about $23 or 38% on the year. There were 61 1/4 a year ago. That said, they rallied the first time up to pretty much exactly this level, almost literally a penny away. It was 84.61 back on Valentine's Day. Then they fell out of bed with the rest of the market down to April 8th, down to $58. And then since then, they've been right back on the trajectory, right back up to this 84.60 level where they topped out last time. Will this be the top, or will they continue blowing through it, listeners? We shall find out. Seems like somebody, Mr. Flowmaster, is feeling a little bit of the old oats out here for Citi, because they came in for size today. They were not messing around. They came in this morning. They said July 90 calls expiring on the 25th. So going outside the standard expiration. They got 84 cents at 89. They said, you know what, good sir? I will take that 89-cent offer. 47,420 times. The stock was about 18 cents lower at 84.38 when they put these on. So a 90 handle, we haven't sniffed that in a little bit in Citi. In fact, I don't know. I'm looking back 5 years. I don't know if we've ever sniffed a 90 handle in Citi. Yeah, you got to go back to the wild days of the 2000s when we were 550. But outside of that, post great financial crisis, I don't think we have sniffed a, man, what a decade and change it's been in Citi. Wow, pretty range bound. But that said, seems like somebody, maybe Mr. Flowmaster, is feeling that Citi is poised to break through to the upside, sir. What are your thoughts? Not a small print in Citi today, sir.
No, that is one big trade, 89 cents on 47,000 lots. It's funny. I worked at Salomon Brothers, which ended up getting bought by Travelers, which then merged with Citi. And a good friend of mine, developer, decided to resign around 2007 and take her stock with her. And she cashed out. And I remember talking to her sometime in 2009 and saying, man, you're so lucky. And she's like, I don't understand what you mean. The stock's at the same price it was when I sold it. I'm like, no, it's split 10 for 1, a reverse split. So she didn't realize that. It is interesting. I mean, $4 million call buyer, and it's just for about a month from now. I don't really know what to say. I'm a little bit. I was just chatting with a broker, and everybody's looking at this market going, man, there's a lot of stuff to be worried about, but we're just, we're marching higher. The vol's low, oil's low, kind of everything is really everything looks like there's no stress in the market. So, and I think that, there's a big disconnect between kind of, what some of the news headlines are and what the market's doing. But you know what? The market does what it's going to do. And if it's going to go up, it tells you there's more buyers and sellers, and that's about it. I don't know. Would Citi ever get back up into the $500 world? Kind of doubt it. But it is a heck of a run. I do think you're right. I think it might be a decade high, more than that, maybe even a 12-year high where we're at right now.
Well, then your friend will be happy if she's still holding it and clawing its way back to some semblance of respectability there. Either way, listeners, are you down for these? This is a sizable print here, listeners. Maybe it might be a fun little flash poll, see what our audience thinks. As we keep on rolling, speaking of the audience, let's get to you folks now. A little bit of the old mail call.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the Mail Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Mail Call, the portion of the show where you folks take the reins. Your questions, your comments, your insights, your pearls of wisdom. And let's check in with some of the questions we were asking you folks last week. We had a couple of questions on the docket for you folks. Talked about some upside in VIX last week, a flash poll during the show. We said, hey, the VIX SEP24 is trading for 288, 46,000 times. At that price, are you a buyer? Are you a seller? Would you sell them as part of a vertical, or are you just not touching VIX? And 31.6% of you wanted to sell them straight up. Naked selling them. So interesting, aggressive. 15.8% wanted to buy them. 26.3% wanted to go the more risk mitigated route of selling them as part of a vertical. And the same amount, about 26.3%, say you're not touching VIX with a 10-foot pole. It was like, you sellers are winning the day right now. We also asked you our actual question of the week last week, listeners, was regarding the vol impact of the Middle East crisis. We said even last Monday when we posted this, it seemed at that point the vol impact was already starting to fade. And in the past, the trade was to fade the Middle Eastern vol. We said, quite simply, you think this conflict will still be impacting vol and the market a month from now? Very simple, yes or no. And it was a hotly contested issue. It came down to slightly more than half of you. 55.3% said yes. 44.7% said no, it will not be affecting VIX and the market 1 month from now, which will, of course, be a little under 3 weeks from now, really, because we posted it last Monday. Then, of course, the events of the weekend happened, and we dove in to escalate the conflict. So we said, you know what, given the fact that you folks were so split, how does this new wrinkle, this new information, change the game for you, or does it? We said, quite simply, does the U.S. entering the conflict over the weekend change your view on the vol impact of this clash? Yes, it's going to be more vol impact. Yes, less vol impact. No change to your outlook, or you just buying crude oil. Then, of course, after we posted this, Trump came out with his ceasefire, which seems like that is leaning vol in a different direction now as well. So a lot to unpack. First, let's check in with Uncle Mike. It's Kool-Aid watch, sir. How we doing?
Nah, it doesn't look like we're going to be drinking the Kool-Aid today, but a lot can still happen in 10 minutes. You never know.
We still have some time, sir. That said, Mr. Uncle Mike, our audience was, for the most part, thinking this conflict was still going to be impacting vol a month from now last week. Do you think that's changing with the news over the weekend? Or do you think maybe, of course, the ceasefire, has that changed things? What do you think our audience is saying right now? Are they leaning towards more vol impact, less vol impact, no change? Or are they just going for crude, which also is looking pretty rough right now?
I think they're going to have more vol impact on it, or that's what I think the audience is saying. And I mean, I'm convinced that X amount of points within the VIX, no matter what, is factored on uncertainty in the Middle East. I mean, that's, I think, been happening since biblical times with the Arabs and the Jews. So I think that there's always going to be some type of VIX conflict in the Middle East. I think Jesus may have been a VIX trader in some ways. You never know.
He was ahead of the game then, in many ways. Mr. Flowmaster, same question for you. What do you think about the impact of this latest leg of the conflict, and of course the subsequent ceasefire? And then B, what do you think our audience is leaning towards?
Well, I can't say that it's going to stay this calm. I think things are still going to. I think we're still in for some bumps in the road, and I think I think that our listeners are going to feel the same way. That this is. I don't know if it's all over yet. I find it hard to believe that it would be that quick and that definitive. So, I think that our listeners will say, still going to see some action.
You know what? That is the way they are leaning right now. You are correct. 34.8%. They were more biased in that direction on Monday. Then, of course, the ceasefire seemed to start bringing in a lot more votes towards the less vol impact side. That is now 30.4%, actually tied for second with no change in their outlook, which is kind of weird, given all the events unfolding, that you would have no change, but yet almost a third of our audience are falling into that category as well. Thankfully, only 4.3% of you right now are saying just buy crude oil, because that one's been a rough trade. of late as well. This is our question of the week, so this will go through vol views tomorrow. So if you haven't voted yet, at Options is the place to go to learn more as we keep on going and go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, listeners, as we're coming into the end of the show, it seems like not welcome news to Uncle Mike that the sell-off might be mitigating, or should they sell off? The rally might be mitigating a little bit. Still up, but only up, in air quotes, only up about 0.75% in the S&P. Still up about 0.8% in the Dow and about 0.85 in the NASDAQ. And our old pal Bix Cash still hanging out right around that 1635, 1640 level out there. So, Uncle Mike, I'll give you another chance here. If you want to make any pronouncements, now is the time. Then what are you keeping an eye on until the Monday episode, sir?
Yeah, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to make my pronouncement for an all-time high today, unfortunately. But something to look forward to Monday. We need to rally roughly another 9 points or something like that to make it happen between now and Monday, and I think we got a chance. But in terms of what I'm watching, of course, the all-time highs. Watching bonds, as we discussed earlier, and watching online DJT and Twitter and everything else that could happen, because if the markets snap back this quickly from 4,800 to 6,100 over the course of less than 3 months, they can snap back at the drop of a hat.
I'll tell you what, Mr. Uncle Mike, I'll make you this offer. If it happens in the next couple of hours, let's say before the show goes live on the podcast side, then if you want to record your triumphant celebration and send it to us, we will cut it in after the fact. How does that sound, sir?
Nah, Kool-Aid Man only goes live with this one.
All right. I'm trying to.
I appreciate the offer, but I mean, we owe it to our audience to stay authentic with what we do.
I'm just saying, you take an umbrage. You've been taking some L's, and I'm trying to give you a win. But if you don't want to take it, that's on you, sir. You're a man of live integrity when it comes to your Kool-Aid celebrations. I can respect that. All right, Mr. Flowmaster, same question for you, sir. What are you keeping an eye on, sir, until, well, actually not next week for us, but 2 weeks for you?
Yeah, it looks like it kind of looks like we're going to be in for a little quiet run. Just there aren't really any earnings, as you mentioned. We have next week's only a 4-day week, and actually Thursday's an early close as well. I will be kind of watching the macro picture. Like I said, I would not want to be, all out just long, banking on the fact that nothing's going to derail things, because it's certainly still very, very possible. So I'll be watching kind of the macro news, but as it is right now, kind of everything seems to be, the economic world seems to be kind of working as it should and working in our favor. And even if you're kind of uncomfortable about it, you have to kind of just take it for what it is. So, and then I'm actually working on a nice little presentation on flex options, because we launched flex versus listed options as a package this week on Cboe, and we've actually seen about 25,000 contracts trade. So it's really kind of interesting. You can basically you can make one side your own custom strike. You can make one part of a trade European, and then trade the regular listed as part of the whole package. So it's kind of neat. It really is an interesting development for the industry.
A flex package, listeners. I've been telling you, flex is the hot thing. It's all the kids these days. They gotta get some flex. So there you go. It might be an interesting. Just tie it up. Flex versus listed. Listen, interesting stuff. Unfortunately, that music means no more interesting stuff, at least for the option block listeners. We just went live with our flash poll here of the July 90. Seems like our audience is kind of mixed right now. They can't make up their mind in any direction. So maybe I'll check back in a little bit later today. Now they want to sell them. They want to sell them as part of a vertical for 89 cents. Those were the July 90 calls for 89 cents. I can't hate that. If you want to buy, 85, 90, you can sell those for almost 90 cents. Not the worst do, especially when you consider that it seems like breaking past that 86 level, at least in recent history, has been a challenge for Citi, but maybe you're bullish all things Citi. Either way, get in there. That will be a flash poll. We'll keep that live throughout the rest of the day so you folks can weigh in. And Uncle Mike, if folks want to reach out to you and share in your joy, pop that bottle when they do hit those new all-time highs, where should they go? What should they do?
Go to stcharleswealth.com, book an appointment with me. Would love to have a conversation with any of our listeners. We can talk about new all-time highs in the markets and how options can be a place in your long-term investment portfolio, potentially.
And Mr. Flowmaster, same question for you, sir. What should they keep an eye on or I should say, where should they go if they want more Flowmaster goodness and maybe want to check out this flex thing you got cooking?
Just head on over to Cboe.com/RMA, which is our platforms and data, and Cboe.com Insights page, which you can find if you just go to Cboe, is where I'm going to get this presentation posted about the flexes versus listed.
There you go. Check them out on the Insights page. You can always go to Cboe.com/RMA to get all of the Flowmaster's goodies as well as the other cool data goodies that are lurking over there in Cboe land. There are a lot of them, so prepare yourself. You're going to go down a rabbit hole, but it's a fun rabbit hole, if I do say so myself. Cboe.com/RMA. Back in a little bit, listeners. If you're hanging out in the live, just hang out. We'll be back with all things futures options. We'll be joined by the folks at FTSE Russell for our annual check-in. Recon is coming. They're going to give you all the dirty details, some interesting shakeups and how they're looking at some of these Mag 7 names. We'll get to all that fun in a little bit on This Week in Futures Options, so stay tuned for that. And speaking of fun, tomorrow we got a banger of a doubleheader. First off, Vol Views. We'll be joined by Dr. Vix and other assorted special guests, including our good buddy, the Oracle of New Hampshire. Then he will stay on for the official after party of Vol Views, known as Options Oddities. And he always gets wild when he talks unusual activities. So that's going to be a banger. Stay tuned for that. If you want to check out the Options Oddities, of course, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. Then we're back again on Monday. Can Uncle Mike dig himself out of the hole that he has dug for himself? I guess we'll find out on the next episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Option Block is brought to you by Cboe. Cboe's suite of S&P 500 index options, SPX and mini S&P 500 XSP options, allows traders to speculate on the direction of the market, generate income, and hedge for downside protection of their portfolio of stocks. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.cboe.com/SPX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Cboe Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively Cboe. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the Cboe products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.